it is totally unacceptable when an African leader, in order to stay in power, will resort to killing his or her own people. In order to stay in power, will rig an election, as if they are God's gift to their country. When you have a country with millions of people, for any leader to think they are the only ones who can be president is pathetic. And therefore, and my apology to those who may come from Tanzania, but I'm mentioning this because they are your neighbor, that the recent election and what transpired, the killings around that election, I for one do not recognize the person who was inaugurated as the President of Tanzania. She is an illegitimate president. But the sad story does not stop there. The sad story does not stop there. Recently, we saw another inauguration of a 90-something-year-old president in Cameroon. 90-something years old, who can hardly walk, but still wants to be president. We have seen in countries like Ivory Coast, and they're not the only ones, where when an opposition leader shows that they are going to be able to put up a credible challenge against an incumbent, suddenly they are charged with some crime or the other. Their parties are banned for one reason or the other, just so that an incumbent can remain in power. That is not the Africa that we want. Your Excellency, the former President of Kenya, Your Excellency, the Governor, Madam Member of Parliament, the Chairperson of the Board of Trustees and the Board, Chairperson of the African Institute, Professor PLO Lumumba, the founder of the Kenya University, Mrs. Mula, Madam Chancellor, Professor Mukena, the University Council Chairperson, the PRO Chancellor, the Vice Chancellor, the academic staff, the student president and students, ladies and gentlemen. Your Excellency, Mr. Vice President, thank you so much for bringing greetings from President Kenyatta. And I would request that you likewise pass on my greetings to him. We were at an event once as former presidents, and I was telling the audience that, like was said, that he and I had one or two things in common. One was that our fathers were founding presidents of our two countries, that he and I, their sons, became presidents, and coincidentally, fourth presidents. And then I said to the audience, but that's where the commonality ended. I said, because I was a better president than Kenyatta was. I would like to thank you very much for the extremely warm welcome, and I mean that in every sense of the word, that I received upon my arrival this morning, and to have been given the honor to do the groundbreaking, the tree planting, and the unveiling of the plaque. Before I came here, yesterday or the day before, I was told that I should wear very light clothing. I shouldn't wear a suit and tie because it can get very humid. So that's why I was wearing, or I am wearing, what I am today. And then when I come up on the stage, after them telling me that I should wear very light clothing, they then put this heavy gown and this headdress on my head. So in anticipation that Professor Lumumba was going to ambush me in that manner, I brought my own personal fan to keep me cool. I would also like to apologize when I was invited to come up and dance by the young lady. It is very rare for any man to turn down an invitation from a young lady to dance. But as I explained to Professor Lumumba that I do about 2.5 hours training every day. That's the legacy of my time in the military. And along with that, you have to put up with the occasional sports injury. So I have a slight knee injury, so I didn't want to embarrass myself coming up here and thinking, you may think that I don't know how to do the moves, but I'm sure the occasion will come and I'll show you that I'm a better dancer than anyone sitting in the front seat here. It is with deep humility and heartfelt gratitude that I stand before you today, and I wish to express my sincere appreciation to the Lukenya University Trust for the great honor that you have bestowed upon me. I'm particularly moved that this ceremony takes place on your Pan-African Day of the university and under the theme Governance and Pan-Africanism. It is a fitting reminder of the values that have guided Africa's journey of unity, integrity, service, and self-determination. I'm very happy that Professor PLO Lumumba is here with us today. His name is synonymous with good governance and Pan-Africanism. I wish there were several Professor Lumumbas in every country on our continent, because he stands as one of Africa's most eloquent and fearless voices for Pan-Africanism, democracy, and good governance. Through his unwavering commitment to the unity, dignity, and self-determination of the African continent, he has inspired generations to believe in an Africa that is led by integrity, guided by justice, and powered by its own people. His bold advocacy and for accountable leadership and his tireless fight against corruption have earned him the respect and admiration of millions across borders. Professor Lumumba's vision reminds us that Africa's renaissance is not a distant dream, but a responsibility that calls upon every African to act with courage, wisdom, and purpose. You, Professor, are one of Africa's jewels. Thank you very much for the work that you do. Coming to the spirit of Pan-Africanism, it was born from struggle, from the determination of our forebearers who refused to be defined by colonialism, division, or despair. It is a philosophy rooted in the belief that Africa must speak with one voice, act with one purpose, and stand on its own feet. From the vision of Nkrumah, to the wisdom of Julius Nyerere, to the courage of Nelson Mandela, and the foresight of my own father, Seretse Khama, we have inherited a rich legacy of unity and service. But This legacy is not a monument to admire. It is a mission to continue. Speaking of governance, the backbone of progress, governance is the foundation upon which Pan-Africanism must stand. Without good governance, unity becomes fragile and development unsustainable. True governance is not about authority. It is about accountability. It is not about control. It is about caring. It is the art of managing the affairs of a nation with transparency, fairness, and compassion. Africa does not lack ideas, nor do we lack resources. What we sometimes lack is integrity and courage in leadership. The Africa we dream of, peaceful, prosperous, and respected, will only emerge when our governance is guided by our values and not by our interests. Turning to recent examples, it is totally unacceptable. It is totally unacceptable when an Africa leader, in order to stay in power, will resort to killing his or her own people. In order to stay in power, will rig an election, as if they are God's gift to their country. When you have a country with millions of people, for any leader to think they are the only ones who can be president is pathetic. And therefore, and my apology to those who may come from Tanzania, but I'm mentioning this because they are your neighbor, that the recent election and what transpired, the killings around that election, I for one do not recognize the person who was inaugurated as the President of Tanzania. She is an illegitimate president. But the sad story does not stop there. The sad story does not stop there. Recently, we saw another inauguration of a 90-something-year-old president in Cameroon. 90-something years old, who can hardly walk, but still wants to be president. We have seen in countries like Ivory Coast, and they're not the only ones, where when an opposition leader shows that they are going to be able to put up a credible challenge against an incumbent, suddenly they are charged with some crime or the other. Their parties are banned for one reason or the other, just so that an incumbent can remain in power. That is not the Africa that we want. We have a protocol in the Southern African Development Community, SADC, which is our regional body, a protocol for the conduct of free and fair elections, which is violated by a number of countries in SADC. So when Tanzania violated the protocol, I thought, no, we will turn to the SADC chairperson to come and rescue the situation. But what happened? The chairperson of SADC, who was the president of Madagascar, had run away from his own country. And he ran away with the chairmanship. That is how ridiculous the situation we find ourselves in today. And as we heard, with wars going on in Sudan, one of the worst conflicts in the world currently, in the DRC, we have military governments, and we have these geriatrics trying to be life presidents. And there are many more countries I haven't mentioned. It is setting a bad example for those young people who aspire to be our leaders in the future. So maybe taking your idea about how you lease vehicles to the government of of Kenya. Maybe people should be leased to become presidents. And when we see they are failing, we cancel the lease and put in someone and lease somebody else. We must therefore nurture a culture of ethics in public service, where leadership is measured not by how much one gains, but how much one can give. And to the youth of Africa, as I look across this audience today, I see the future. Young men, young women whose energy and creativity, which we have even experienced today on this stage, will shape the destiny of this continent. You are the generation that must take Pan-Africanism beyond rhetoric and make it a lived reality. In your hands lies the power to dismantle poverty, to dismantle corruption and inequality. In your minds lies the innovation that will build industries, create jobs, and restore dignity to African labor. In your hearts lies the compassion to heal divisions and bring hope where there has been despair. I urge you, do not wait for permission to lead. Do not wait for permission to lead. It is your right. The future of Africa will not be determined by those who doubt her. It will be built by those who believe in her potential and act with courage. With unity in diversity, our strength lies in that diversity. Africa is home to over 1.4 billion people speaking more than 2,000 languages. Yet beneath that diversity lies one heartbeat, which is the African spirit. We must move beyond borders, both physical and mental, and see ourselves as one people with a shared destiny. When Africans unite in purpose, we will be unstoppable. Let us trade more with each other, learn more from each other, and support each other. Let us make the African Continental Free Trade Area not just a treaty on paper, but a reality in practice, a bridge that connects our markets, our cultures, and our dreams. And therefore, for sustainable development and stewardship, as Africans, we are blessed with abundant natural wealth, from minerals and forests to wildlife and fertile lands. But these gifts come with responsibility. Sustainable development means protecting our environment while empowering our people. It means creating economies that serve humanity. It means also not the other way around, recognizing that the true wealth of Africa is not in her resources, and like we have heard already, but it is in her people, their creativity, their resilience, and their hope. As we build cities, industries, and technologies, let us also build compassion. Let our progress not come at the expense of the vulnerable or the voiceless. So the vision for the future, I envision an Africa where every child has access to education, every family to clean water, and every young person to opportunity. An Africa where women are empowered, not marginalized, where peace is not the exception, but the norm. An Africa that speaks with confidence on the world stage, not as a recipient of aid, but as a partner in progress. That future is within our grasp, but it demands courage, the courage to think differently, to act boldly, and to serve selflessly. In closing, as I accept this honorary degree today, I do so not as a personal achievement, but as a reaffirmation of our shared belief that service to humanity is the highest calling for all. May we continue to draw strength from our heritage wisdom from our elders, and inspiration from our youth. And may the spirit of governance and Pan-Africanism continue to light our path towards unity, justice, and sustainable development for generations to come. I thank you, the Kenya University, for this honor. May God bless you all, and may God bless Africa, and thank you for your attention.